Well, it's the Grottu Orloff show here, coming at you in color on October 22nd, Thursday, 2020. 2020. A horrible year. It was the worst of years. It was the best of years. There's actually some good things to be said about 2020. Like the fact that you can turn on your phone, computer, device, television, and watch the Grottu Orloff show in color. So, I'll go through some comics with no further ado as I'm pulling out stuff that's not bagged and boarded but needs to be, or just needs to be put in other boxes. Well, here's the first issue of Red Wolf. Let me tell you about Western comics, you know. There were some good Western comics. I don't know if this was one of them. Yeah, I guess it's okay. Yeah, it's kind of cool looking. But if you want a really cool Western comic, find Jonah Hex. There's old Arnold Schwarzenegger there. Jonah Hex. Very warped writing from Michael Fleischer. Yes, Red Wolf. See, they somehow retconned him into modern day world. Here's a favorite of the dollar bins. I don't know how I came to own Sectars. I believe this is based on a toy line. Oh, here's an ad for the wonderful Mile High Comics. Mile High became famous because it was a new comic store in Boulder, Colorado, and a commercial artist passed away. And for reference, he bought one of every single comic book during the golden age that hit the stands. And he put them in his basement, stacked, just filed on shelves. And the climate in Colorado, in that part of Colorado, was just so that these comics like never aged. And so in the late 70s, I guess, he passed away, and they were trying to sell his house, and the real estate agent called this guy that ran Mile High Comics. You know, I've got all these comics, I need to get rid of them so I can sell this house. And he went out there and realized there was everything, Action Comics #1, Detective 27, and everything, and they were in perfect condition. So that was like the first of the big pedigree collections. But the owner of Mile High Comics is now like a zillionaire, and he has this giant building filled with comics, just unbelievable amounts, millions probably. And he, like the comic that started me in superheroes, the Marvel Treasury Edition #2, Fantastic Four, from like 1973-74. That's maybe worth about $20. I saw, something like that, depending on the condition. And I saw that he was selling that for like $250, $300, and I saw it in the background in a video where someone went into his store. It's like a store, real frustrating, where you can't buy anything. There's a record store here locally called Forever Young Records, and every record starts at like $25 or maybe $15. You don't get anything cheaper than that. All albums, and you know, it's so depressing. Even if you find something you want, it's not a... You know, the pages in this Sectars comic are especially bright. As I recall, they were using a special kind of paper around that time. I don't remember. Yeah, there's that accursed Spider-Man head when he went to the black costume. Yeah, the editions that were sold in comic stores, instead of having two squares, they had the Marvel M, and then they had a Spider-Man head down here. Here's something The New Science Fair Story of Electronics. I've got several of these. I know Metarog collects these promotional comics. Oh, and I just got a cool Catholic comic at an estate sale about some Polish saint or something. I need to show that. I meant to pull that out and show that in this video. I'll show it in the next one. But yes, all about the wonderful world of computers. Oh, here's another one. Yeah. Courtesy of Radio Shack. Now, Radio Shack started, I remember these stupid cards. Radio Shack started around in these parts, like in Fort Worth. Yep. Here's my childhood copy, Scooby-Doo. The Whitman symbol means this was bought in a pack of comics. I always loved that ghoul there. Only problem with the Scooby-Doo is the monsters were never real. Always turned out at the end that they were imposters. I didn't like that. There's the Mark Jewelers. Everyone loves Mark Jewelers. Indeed. SSP. Oh man. Yeah, this comics was like this is one of my first comics that, you know, it went into the collection. So that's got to be bagged and boarded. This is a little bit later. This is in better shape because this is me, and that one was like first grade, and this one's probably more like third or fourth grade. So I was keeping my comics in better condition then. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, indeed. More Scooby-Doo. Indeed. Sad Sack. I don't know if he was loved by millions, maybe millions of silverfish that maybe ate. I don't know. Sad Sack was cool. It's just there were so many of these comics. Sad Sack and Richie Rich. Look at this creep. Shit. Look at this creepy real life Casper. Casper was promoting Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts or something. But they got someone in a suit there. Very creepy. Oh, there was apparently a Richie Rich money game. This is a later period comic. It's 35 cents. Sad Sack. They were all over the place on army bases. It seems like they would give them away free. Am I even recording? Let me see here. Yes, I am. Damn, this is weird. Look, you open up the comic. This is the weirdest thing. And there's a Sea Monkey ad. First page. I've never seen that happen. And then the story starts like on. Have you ever seen that? Anyway, yeah, Sad Sack was everywhere. But there's so many titles, just like Richie Rich and Casper and everything. It's just like you couldn't buy them all if you were a Sad Sack fan. And then later, Marvel got that way, I think, with their X-Men titles. There were just so many different X-Men titles, and I found that rather depressing. More Sad Sack. Oh, our 25th year. See, in that month of January was when Batman premiered on television. Batman came on in January. It didn't start in September like most shows. Why am I showing you Sad Sack? You don't give a shit about Sad Sack. I picked up a bunch of Sad Sacks, but no one cares. No one cares. No one cares. Nobody cares. Let's see here. Ripley's Believe It or Not. Always with the beautiful painted covers on the Gold Key comics. And the artwork inside that's so dreadfully boring. Now this isn't dreadfully boring. I don't know, this comic, Revelry in Hell. I think this was a Richie Rich title. Anyway, that's probably a comic book that Jeffrey Epstein used to read. Here we've got some Marvel team-ups. Someone was just doing a review this morning of the new Iron Man comic, and it's got this beautiful Alex Ross painted cover, and in there, Hellcat, or it used to be called The Cat when this was printed, Hellcat is lecturing Iron Man. Tony Stark is in a hospital bed on his white privilege, and apparently, from what I understand, in most Marvel and DC comics today, social justice warriors have taken over the companies, and people are just really complaining, and I don't know, I think it would just piss me off, but I'll just keep buying these Bronze Age and Silver Age comics until I have them all. Then maybe I'll try to sample some of the new ones. I have 2 copies of that one. How about that? Oh my gosh, I bet this is now a key issue, because it has Kang the Conqueror, and he has just been cast by Marvel Films for their new Marvel Universe films. Anyway, Spider-Man and the Human Torch. I always liked the relationship between them, being both rivals, because they were both teenage superheroes in New York, and I thought it was cool when a toy company pressured Marvel. They needed a Spider-Man car. So, you know, and they thought, well, why does Spider-Man need a car? So they thought, okay, we'll give him this dune buggy, and we'll have it where Johnny Storm, who builds hot rods, he'll build this car for Spider-Man, and Spider-Man will take this car out, and his first time he drives it, he'll screw up, and it'll go right into the Hudson River. And so the car did appear in the comic, so they fulfilled their obligation to the toy company or whatever. But but anyway, they got rid of it quick. I don't know if they have the sense to do that now. This is my childhood copy, bought from the 7-Eleven down the street, Hampton, Virginia. You know, when I lived in Hampton, Virginia, my father was working at Fort Monroe. He was a colonel in the Army. I've since Google Earthed it and looked at where it was I lived, and there was an elementary school just right next to where I lived in this townhouse. That school's since been closed, because I guess the neighborhood has changed where, I don't know, they must have closed the school down, the grades are so bad. And there was a forest next to it, and a stream. It was so beautiful there in Virginia. And there was a 7-Eleven down the street. What I didn't know is that maybe a little bit more than a football field away from where I lived was the ocean. I never heard the ocean. I didn't know it was that close to me, but it was right there. Because I see, it's like, how did I not know that? I guess they didn't want me to be scared of hurricanes, so they were hiding it from me. Look at that, that's weird. There's an ad for cream in here. Oh, and I put tape on it. Shame on me as a second grader. I may have that music a little too freaking loud. Ah, yes. Bought at the PX, the Army PX. And here it doesn't just have a star. They have a stamp that says, gotta get my old man reading glasses. Grottu is the fattest and blindest motherfucker on YouTube. Comic collector. Okay, it says AAFES, which was, I don't remember, Armed Forces something, Exchange Service. Armed Forces Federal Exchange, I don't know, it just means the PX, the stores where you would buy these. And then down at the bottom, I think there's just like 4 stars. But usually they just put 1 star stamp on there to show you bought it. So, oh, I always loved this panel. This panel I loved as a kid. Look at that fucking guy. Yeah, that's why he wears the eyeball helmet. I remember seeing the band The Residents. You know who The Residents are? Investigate a band called The Residents. They were cool back in their day, but now they're making anti-Donald Trump videos, but they wore big giant eye helmets. Spider-Man and Kazar. I always pronounce it Kazar. Maybe it's Kazar. It's one of those Tarzan. Is it Tarzan or Tarzan? Is it potato or potato? You say Kazar and I say Kazar. You say Kazar and I say Kazar. Oh, let's call the whole thing off. Fred Astaire, ladies and gentlemen. Motherfucker. Oh my gosh, my wife hates when I play this music. Why, it's Spider-Man and Brother Voodoo. Look at that guy. She's about to get fucked up. I must have liked this cover so much I bought 2 copies. Can you imagine? Oh, it's good old Atlas Comics. Lasted about 5-6 months trying to ape Marvel, and they were always a fun read. But the sea monkeys look different in these Atlas ads. They look a little bit weirder and more alien. Is it just me? It seems like in regular comics they look more like the Cleavers and Leave It to Beaver. There they look a little bit more alien. And here's good old Morlock 2001, which was a future date in 1974 when these were coming out. There's good old Morlock in some kind of thing I won't mention. But you can build your own monster, which is what you need to get back at those bullies on the playground that make fun of you for reading Morlock 2001. Somebody bought the rights to all these Atlas characters to make movies out of them. Probably they make these movies based on comic books you've never heard of, like the TV show, like The Boys. Umbrella Academy. Boys, I watched the whole first season, and I felt like I needed to take a shower after every episode. The showrunner of that show, I saw him interviewed, or read an interview with him the other day, and he's like, superheroes have always been fascist. They are a terrible thing for our society. So it's like, the whole first season struck me as they're making fun of the current president, and it was just skeevy too. I love violence. I'm a gore hound, but there's something about that show. I kind of liked Umbrella Academy. I've never read the comic book. I'm not even sure I knew it was a comic book. Some things like, what the hell was it, Men in Black? I never knew that was a comic book. I guess it was some comic book, looked like it was drawn by a 3rd grader, and so I ignored it, just like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and The Tick always looked shitty, and then they made a cartoon out of it, and I realized, this is brilliant, this is great, I just need to see it as a cartoon. The Walking Dead, I remember seeing that comic book, and I thought, this is terrible looking. I almost felt like I could draw better. And then it's like, if I just picked up those issues, who knew it was going to become this wonderfully talkative and depressing TV series? But who knew that? Why, it's a reprint of Sheena. Black and white art. Amazing. Why, it's the Savage She-Hulk. Yes, indeed. And I go from that to issue 3. I guess I didn't pick up issue 2. Then I got these sensational She-Hulks. That's when John Byrne took over. And he made it all jokey and funny. They're making a TV show out of this. These are probably key issues. I should send this off to CGC. I'm sure. Man, that's probably a 9 point. That's probably up in there in the 9s. I treated comics. When did this wonderful thing come out? 1978. I treated anything I bought from mid 70s on. I mean, I treated them well. Even though it doesn't have any backing board, it's in my light. I'm gonna put, that's my project right now. I'm pulling these out to put the backing boards and the shit in them. And but this, I don't know, these were in dollar bins until just recently, or 50-cent bins, or maybe even quarter bins. I don't know. Then they did this parody of the Demi Moore pregnant cover. You know, I even bought this where she's marrying the man-wolf or something. Wow. I must have had some extra money back then. Sherlock Holmes. I always liked Sherlock Holmes. DC tried to do a Sherlock Holmes comic. Didn't last too long. What the hell is that? I don't remember this King Arthur comic at all. Do you? I don't remember that. I can't wait to the debates tonight. Okay, why it's this horrible 1980s looking thing. Why do I own this? It's like horrible. Everything I don't like. I guess I kind of like the look of the character, and I thought I'd give it a shot. Yeah, because I got another one here. I don't know why I have 2 copies of it. What the hell is wrong with me? What is going on? 2 copies of this. Maybe they're in a quarter bin or something. I used to have a sculpture of she. I thought it was really cool. She had her sword and everything, and the lady called me from the comic shops like, oh, I broke your statue, so I'll give it to you for $5 or free or something. So she gave it to me, and it was still kind of glued it back together, but then it really got smashed, I think, by my cat princess, or something happened to it where it's no longer here. I might still have the head of it here somewhere. Here's a good old Bronze Age. Why, Kirby and Steranko. It's reprints. Everybody likes reprints from the Bronze Age. From the Silver Age in the Bronze Age. Why, it's the first issue of Shogun Warriors. I actually have this Shogun Warrior. I didn't buy it back then. I bought it at a later date. Yeah, this guy. I own him. Indeed. In fact, if you were watching the other day, I accidentally dropped a fist when I was trying to get out of this room. It was this fist here. But I don't think you guys watch my videos all the way to the end. You know, my eye fucked up the other, about in June. I was driving along the road, and then my eye, it's like I saw this squiggly stuff in my eye in my vision, and I went to the ophthalmologist 3 times, and he finally said it's the way it's gonna be. I got this floater because a blood vessel broke in my eye, probably because I'm so goddamn fat. I think it's because I was at the dentist the day before, and they were giving me shots for the pain. They gave me 4 shots here, and then my eye blew out the next day, probably because of my blood pressure and everything. But anyway, I had a point with this. Where was I going with that? I'll remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, Shogun Warriors #2. How about that? That was when Marvel was doing all their toy, they were doing Shogun Warriors, Micronauts, ROM, Space Knight, any kind of toy that looked like it was popular in the Sears catalog. Stan Lee was calling them on the phone, wanting to make a toy out of them. Even some real-life Daredevil named the Human Fly, they did that. And I was buying these comics because I was buying all the Marvel shit. I didn't care what it was, I was buying it. Alright, Shogun Warriors. But You ever look through a comic and every page, it's like you only see the ads because it's like the ads are every 2 pages, and just by chance you flip through and yeah, see here are the well, it really is distracting. I'm not even saying anything funny and they laugh. Here's the Fantastic Four cartoon that Jack Kirby designed, but they had to use this little Herbie robot so kids wouldn't catch themselves on fire trying to imitate the Human Torch. Very depressing, very disillusioning, very horrible. Shogun Warriors. Okay, so I was talking about my eye. Why was I talking about my fucking eye? Okay, I brought up my eye for a reason. Oh, well, the doctor finally said, well, there's a simple surgery to correct it, but then they have to check you every so often because there's a greater likelihood you'll get glaucoma. And I thought, oh, fuck, I'll just live with this stupid thing where, my side vision looks like something's moving, So if I ever move into a house with ghosts, I won't even notice the ghost because this fucking thing's floating. Oh, that's what I was talking about. I'm looking in this camera here, and I'm seeing this crease here. Because I'm getting old, but it's like I'm always frowning, and ever since my eye fucked up, it's like I had a stroke or something. Because like my eye is, I'm aware, I don't know, something about it's causing this to tense up. My mother, I remember when she was getting older, she was real vain about that, and I remember she put a piece of tape there, not when she went out in public, but she put a piece of tape there to keep her from furrowing her brow because she didn't want it to get worse. But I'm a guy, so I just don't give a shit. It'll just make me look more weathered and more like an old grizzled cowboy, or like my ancestor Robert E. Lee. So if I move to Virginia, and the fact that I look like Robert E. Lee, and I'm related to Robert E. Lee, maybe I'll get some street cred from those people down there. Okay, why am I showing you new showcase comics? New. Okay, to me they're new because they're late 70s. But anyway, that's how I think. Because I'm a... Oh, I always love this cover. Jim Steranko. He's a little bitty asshole, but everybody loves Jim Steranko's art. I think Neil Adams is an asshole too, but we forgive him because we love him so much. We love his art. I mean, look at this fucking art. It's got everything you could possibly want in life. A skeleton, a red-haired girl, a dungeon, jackals or some kind of creatures. Enter Nikra. Yeah, they haven't put Nikra in the Marvel Cinematic Universe yet. Have you noticed that? Or Shanna. Oh, I'm in the S's, clearly. Yes, they tried to bring back Captain Marvel. After suing Captain Marvel out of business, 20 years later, DC brings Captain Marvel back. And to add insult to injury, they hire the original guy that they put out of business, C.C. Beck, a curmudgeonly, angry old man. And he worked for a little while drawing the character that he drew back in the 40s that was just about as popular as Superman, if not more so. And ultimately, just something about the 1970s weren't the proper time for Captain Marvel. And they had to say, with one magic word, Shazam, the original Captain Marvel. They couldn't call the comic Captain Marvel because Marvel Comics had come out with their own Captain Marvel. And even though it didn't sell very well, they kept it kind of halfway going. Now Captain Marvel's is a female. But anyway, now when they made the Shazam movie, which was pretty good, now they just plain call the character Shazam. They don't try to fuck around anymore. Yeah, something about it's just not, something weird about seeing Captain Marvel looking all 1940s and seeing people in the background with plaid pants and bell bottoms. It's just like, I don't know, but they have some in the back. They have some reprints of the old Captain Marvel. Somehow Captain Marvel just didn't make the transition. This one is a childhood copy. And see, these spine ticks, that's from being on a comic rack like this. And kids would flip through because there were comics behind comics, and you didn't want to miss something that was buried. Some kid may have hidden a comic. They wanted to come back for it later, so you had to flip through. And so about this far down on a comic book is where you're going to see the spine, you know, wear. And then sometimes comic book stores, they always seem to have these racks right there in the front, so to attract kids' attention. So that, especially if you're in a sunny place like Texas, if they're in the front window and it's just a clear glass, a wall of clear glass like some 7-Elevens were, the comics that were facing the sun got sun bleached, and so you'll see the top has turned a color from the sun, and so a lot of times then the cover will be bleached too. But I would never buy those comics that are sun bleached, so I don't have many in my collection to really show you. I turned my nose up at that because I was always checking to make sure the condition was just perfect. I think, try to show you an example. Here's some 100-page Shazams, Captain Marvel, I should say. See how I always made sure the cover lined up perfectly with the spine. What they're gonna do? They're gonna fuck up that frog. I just always check that, even as a kid. Somehow it mattered to me. I've got 2 copies of this issue. How did that happen? No one knows. No one knows. No one knows. What else we got? Alright, I'm gonna shut that fucking... Hold on, fucker. One moment. What is this fucking music playing over the Grottu Orloff show? Oh, I know what this fucking is. My show is being ruined by you fools. That was I record shit off music off YouTube on DVD-R, and I set it on a 6-hour speed on my old DVD recorder. They don't make those anymore. When yours, they last for a long time. I'll tell you the brand I have if you're interested, but they don't last long. They do last long. They last 10 years, but when they finally break and stop working, you have to get a new old stock one or a used one, or one that's barely used from eBay or something, Amazon, because the movie studios, TV studios don't want you to own anything. They want you to stream everything, and I want to own everything because I don't trust YouTube to be around forever. So, indeed. Okay. So I recorded some cool music as background for this show, and then after that I started recording an album of 60s groups, obscure 45s, where they were trying to imitate the Byrds. So that was that song that started playing was someone trying to imitate the Byrds, and it didn't sound like Grottu Orloff kind of music, so that's why I had to immediately shut it down. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the DC Rudolph, really was great. Look at that. I hate when these giant Nephilim attack. Captain Marvel does too. Which of these treasury editions do you have? I have the Dick Tracy one. Man, do I have that? I don't. I got a lot of them, but not all of them. Duncanville Books used to have a whole box of these treasury editions. Every time I go in, one time I'll say, well, where are the treasury editions? They used to be right here. It's like, what are treasury editions? And the next time I'll get a different employee and says, I think they were taken off to a comic book show. And then the next time, I think they're still on the truck. So apparently these treasury editions have been sitting on a truck or in a van for a year or more. I don't know. I'd like them to come back so I could buy a few. Yes, indeed. AAU shoes. Everyone loves AAU shoes. Never heard of them. Isn't that cool? That's the way comic book covers should look. This is just a sampler, really. These are old 40s stories. This is a promo, really, for the Shazam archives. They're letting you get a sample, so you'll come back for more. It's like a drug dealer giving you a little bit, and you have to come back for more. And you have to buy these $50 books. Ah, look, it's the golden age of comics. Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, number 14. Fiction House had the greatest covers and art inside. I mean, they're just great. They were famous for their good girl art. And here's Sheena from, I guess this is from the 80s. This is a Dave Stevens cover. Dave Stevens left us far too young. Oh, this is appropriate for this music. Here's a magazine called Sentai. And this is all about Japanese monsters and superheroes. There's a story about the Japanese version of Ultraman. This came out in probably the 90s. Yeah, 1994. This is about the time I was hanging out with Joe Riley, who was so into Ultraman and Godzilla. And then there was another guy that Joe Riley made a TV show called Monster Attack Team with, named Eddie Holland. And Eddie Holland was really into toy collecting. And Kiss, I bought a Kiss pinball machine from him. And a lot of other toys. He was a toy collector and dealer. And he was really into Kamen Rider. And Joe Riley was more into Ultraman and more into Ultraman. And together they hosted a show called the Monster Attack Team about, and I think Sentai is the Japanese word for 5-man team, which is what people in America know it as Power Rangers. But yeah, this came out for a little while. Ultra 7. I was really into this stuff at the time, and then they tried to bring it over to the States with these titles like Samurai Cyber Squad and VR Troopers and Power Rangers instead of, I think that was originally called Zoo Ranger. But what they do over there is when they start a new year, they don't just continue with the same characters, they start over. Every year it's like you got this 5-man team. One's yellow, one's green, one's pink. That's the pink one's the girl. And then the next year they'll have 5 new actors and they'll have different theme costumes. And that way they can sell new toys every year. And same thing with Kamen Rider, who are the cricket-looking robot android guys on motorcycles. Every year they have a different Kamen Rider, and they're all similar. But the cool thing about it is they all exist in the same universe. So ultimately, once they've had many years of Kamen Rider seasons, Kamen Rider just means Masked Rider, then they can have them all team up and have a big giant, like they did with the Avengers movies. They introduced them in different movies, and then they had them all team up, and it blew everyone's minds that were normal people that had never read comic books that could happen. And that had never happened in the movie world, and that's still a magnificent feat. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I have anything that amazing to show you today. This is Bronze Age, it's issue 100. But is it new? Or is it just, yeah, actually, it's got a new, I bet it's just a new wraparound, see? Yeah, come on. How far are they going to go with this? Oh, I guess the whole issue is new. All right, I guess for issue 100 they actually hired an artist. But usually back in this era of Sergeant Fury, they were just reprints of the 60s comic. Here's something I bought. I remember buying this in San Antonio at a little drugstore right next to the TG&Y and HEB. They're big with initials there in San Antonio. I don't remember the name of the drugstore, but it's the Secrets of Sinister House. There's also Secrets of Haunted House, and they use almost the exact same logo. I think someone figured haunted sounded better than sinister, because they're probably a bunch of dumb kids that didn't know what sinister meant. So they said, we need to rebrand this, the Secrets of Haunted House. But yeah, what DC was doing is trying to be a little bit like the old EC, with the hosts and the horror stories, witches' tales. Oh, you remember this ad? You motherfucker, get in this room, I'm gonna fire you. Then he goes off and studies electronics and comes back and says, fuck you, I've got a new job fixing TV sets. Gee, he's the hero of the beach. I had to read it exactly that's my Adam Schiff paraphrasing. Let's do it exactly. Get in here, Bill. I want to talk to you. You punched in 7 minutes late. I'm docking you an hour's pay, and it better not happen again. Or else. Oh, yeah? I've got news for you, Mr. Bemis. I've got a new job offer with a real future at twice the money. Ha! Anybody be crazy to pay you that much? That's what you think. I've been learning electronics in my spare time at home from CIE, and now I can take my pick of good jobs. You gotta be kidding. You and electronics? Yes, now I've got a career. CIE made it easy. So goodbye to you and your crummy job. They ought to do a parody of that with Hunter Biden. I got a new job. I won't get into politics. I promised I wouldn't. Look, Frankenstein. Anytime I see Frankenstein's head, I have to zoom in. And look at that guy, foaming at the mouth. Lots of hallucinations. The Man and the Snake. Alfredo Alcala. Oh, it's a story by Ambrose Bierce. They're actually adapting high-class literature in these comics. Secrets of Sinister House. Yeah, a lot of this Alfredo Alcala art. A lot of artists from the Philippines working in comics back in the 70s. They worked cheap and they drew really well. And then in the black and white comics, they were getting a lot of artists from Spain. You know, Creepy, Eerie, Vampirella, that kind of stuff. But the weird thing, you got to realize that it's hard to tell. People in the Philippines tend to have Spanish surnames, so it's a little confusing. You ever see those like Beast of Blood, the Brides of Blood that played in the drive-ins forever? They were from the Philippines, but you read the credits and they were all Spanish names, and you thought, well, what's going on? Well, that's the story. It's Frankenstein again. I bought this again. This is also a childhood copy. I like to point out when they're copies I bought as a kid, and this was bought as a kid, and so this has followed me around a lot of years. All of these Secrets of Sinister House, because you know, until recently, you never saw horror comics in the stores, in comic book stores. I don't know if people bought collections and just tossed these out. I never even saw them in the 50-cent bins. It was just superhero comics in the stores. And now I see people having little horror sections. One of the lights just went out. So it was hard to get these, and now you've got like mycomicshop.com and things like that where you can purchase these. I had that bat as a kid. I didn't order it from a comic. I just probably got it at a Stuckey's. Ah, the memories. Yes. Well. The secret society of supervillains, also known as the Democratic National Party. I swear that used to be the Democrat Party. There's the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. And it's like everyone, that's the way I remember it from when I was a kid. And I see Donald Trump in his speeches say, it's not the Democratic Party, it's the Democrat Party. And I say, well, he has the same memory I do. But then I see on YouTube, they've got hours of the 1968 Democratic National Convention. And, you know, you see, and you can actually watch it. And I guess that's where Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. Yeah. Anyway, back in '68, I watched it. They're saying Democratic Party. So, how did I get that in my head? I think Republicans don't like the Democrats to call themselves the Democratic Party because it makes it seem like they have a monopoly on the word democracy, even though it's really a republic. Democracies are a very dangerous thing. But you need a political lesson. Oh, someone just put a little comment. It just flashed in the top of my screen. Someone put a comment about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That must have been on, someone must have put a comment on my YouTube video from yesterday. I think I was talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and how it didn't make a big impression on me when it first came out. I wasn't able to read it, but it popped up. So I need to go read that here in a second. Indeed. What else can I show you that's of great consequence? Not much. You know what I need to do is go buy a couple more comic boxes just so I can get organized here. So I think I'm going to make a trip over to Cosmic Comics in Grand Prairie, Texas. Look at that screensaver I got. Look at that. You can have that screensaver too if you have Apple TV. Sobrenatural 68 páginas. Oh my gosh. Well, I guess it's that time again, folks, where I get up and I will groan horribly as I get out of this chair. And then, as always, I carefully walk over here and turn off the power strip. Then I have to turn this music off or it will be playing for the next 5 hours. And I don't want to step on these valuable things down here. So, I reach down, make old man noises. Now, I turn the stereo off because it's a tube stereo and you don't want to leave that going. And then I turn off the DVD player. Then I go downstairs and see what wonderful things are happening in the news. Tonight is the exciting debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Looking forward to that as I almost blind myself on this Christmas star. All right. The next step, I'm like a World War I veteran trying to, God damn it, like a World War I veteran trying to learn to walk again after stepping on a mine That's how it seems like when I'm trying to traverse this. I think I've got a clear path to the door now. Next time on Hoarders. I don't want to step on Howdy Doody. Oh my gosh, that looks so cool. The little spider guy on top of these books. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Oh. I showed you these before, I think. All right. What else? And so, I bid you farewell.